The title of today's session is Exploring the New ChatGPT Experience, because there have been several new things that have came about in December. I don't know if anybody in the group was watching the updates, but there were updates going on every day. They had a 12 days of shipments. They had a lot of updates, and I've included some of them, but some of them were not free. So we're not going to talk about the things that are not free and that are not available. We're going to focus on the ones that are, and they actually are some of the more impactful ones. And so I think it will be helpful to you if you're a ChatGPT user, or even if you're not, and just kind of demonstrate some of the things that they're working on and that they've integrated. There is a QR code there as well. And so I'll go ahead and move along. The link is on other slides also, and it will be pinned in that chat. So if you're looking for it, just go to the chat and you can get that link. For those of you who don't know me, I think most everybody on the call I have met before, but my name is Vera Cabero. I'm the Emerging Technologies Consultant for the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, was previously the Western Region DTL Consultant, and have been heavily involved in the work leading AI implementation in North Carolina. And so a few months ago, they created a new position just to be able to focus on that work. And that's what I'm doing now. And so I will go ahead and move along. My contact information is there, though. If you're on LinkedIn, I'm heavily on LinkedIn. If you have a need in your district, you can always email me. Your regional consultant also, it would be a first contact, but I do work a lot with district leaders and things as well. And so all my contact information is there. If you're on X, I have my handle there as well. And we'll go ahead and get moving along. Okay, this is just a third-party tools disclaimer. I normally do not do sessions that are focused on a particular tool or platform, because we like to be very clear that we're not promoting any particular tool or platform. But this ChatGPT is kind of a foundational model and kind of got this ball rolling in November of 2022. And they have done a lot of great things, and it's a great tool for adults. But we just want to make sure that we are not recommending that you go off and sign all your kids up for ChatGPT. That would not be a good thing to do unless your district has allowed it and you've got permissions and all of that. So make sure you are checking with your district about any kind of tools that you're using, in particular when we're talking about student accounts. And there should be a process in every district to recommend tools for yourself and tools for students. So we're going to talk about a few things today. I usually have a much longer agenda, so hopefully I'll actually get through everything, which would be a first for me probably. But we're going to do a deep dive into the Canvas feature in ChatGPT, which is the one that I'm the most excited about. It's a really, really good feature. And then we're also going to look at the new search feature that they've rolled out. And we're going to look at projects. It may not be available to you as of yet, but it's one that they are going to push to the free version very soon. And so we'll go ahead and have a look at it so that when it gets to your account, you will kind of know what's going on there. And then we're going to look at the new call ChatGPT feature they rolled out as well. And those are the things that they rolled out that were free and that were most impactful for education for everybody involved. And so those are the ones I'm going to focus on today. And so first of all, we are going to start with the Canvas feature. And in the vein of being terrible at naming things, which they've done along the whole time, they've named it something that causes a lot of confusion to people. And when I first had a session about this, everybody thought I was going to go into the LMS Canvas and do something with ChatGPT in there. And it actually has nothing to do with the LMS Canvas. They call it Canvas because it's a new feature that allows you to be able to edit and collaborate with the AI on your own writing, rather than just taking what it gives you and then going and pasting it elsewhere and collaborating. But again, very terrible name, but it is a great feature, and it gives us a really good glimpse into the future of what working with AI is going to be as it becomes more of a collaborative partner instead of just being able to something that does the work for you, in which that's something that we really want to focus on in education, is that keeping that human in the loop, that human component. And so it was my favorite feature, and I'd had access to a couple of months, but then they rolled it out in December to all the free accounts as well. And so you may not have noticed it yet. Is there anybody on the call that's already used it? Anybody, just raise your hand, unmute, drop it in the chat, whatever you're most comfortable with. Nobody's used Canvas as of yet? Okay, good. I don't want to tell you something you already know. Okay, so these are just some kind of use cases that I thought of that you could use this feature for. One is the collaborating piece. Like I said, it makes you more of a collaborator. You can enhance just sections of your writing instead of, in a ChatGPT, if you want to change something about your writing and you go back and edit the prompt or you ask it to redo it, it redoes the whole thing, and maybe it redoes parts of it that you liked. And so you can edit just sections of it. You can simplify complex tests with the reading level selector, asking for suggestions on your own writing, which again pulls in that human component where you're actually doing the writing, but you're going to it and using it as an assistant, as a collaborative partner. Asking for suggestions also from a certain perspective, and I'll show you how to do all of this. Reviewing and adjusting the structure, searching and citing information, creating social media posts, including things like emojis in it, adding a final polish. It has a feature that will do a final polish that kind of checks for grammar, structure, heading styles, and all of that. And then formatting text also with heading styles. So those are a few use cases, just to tell you a little bit about it. And then I'm mostly going to be doing live demos and ask you to join in if you want to have another tab open where you have Canvas open or another screen and you prefer to work alongside me, then you're welcome to do that. Or if you just like to watch and pay attention, and we'll stop and take a break and let you kind of work independently then. So whichever one works for you. But it is available free. It has some upgrades to the one that I was able to test out for the last couple of months. They've made some improvements on it, and it illustrates that shift again toward more collaborative tools, working as a partner, keeping that human in the loop, which we're always concerned with and interested in. And I'm going to show you how to get to it in a minute, but there are step-by-step directions there if after the fact you want to go back to it and have forgotten. But there are several different ways to launch it. And again, I think I'm going to go ahead and go into it. There are several slides here that are going to give you like a little video walkthrough and step-by-step directions on what I'm going to show you live. And so this will be a reference to you after the fact, or a teaching tool you can use for others. But rather than me tell you about it, I'm just going to go ahead and open it up and show you. And so I have Canvas, or I have ChatGPT already open. And again, if you like working alongside, you're welcome to open it in another tab, work alongside with me. But if you haven't noticed it of late, there are a couple of new things here, and we're going to look at both of them. But this one is where you will find Canvas. And so if you click that little toolbox, that's what it's supposed to be, then you will see now that there is a new thing at the bottom. You may not have all of these if you don't have Plus, but you should have Canvas. And so if you click that Canvas, notice that it puts a blue link there automatically. And that tells you that it's going to open in Canvas. And I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. And I already have a prompt ready to go. I like to cheat and do all my typing when nobody's watching, because I'm terrible at it when people are watching. And so I have a prompt here. So I'm going to ask it to open in Canvas, and then I'm going to give it a prompt. And so this is basically a prompt where I'm asking for assistance in creating a blog post about a new law in North Carolina that is applicable to deepfake imagery. And so you can see that I sent that prompt in, and I gave it a lot of specifics. I gave it reference to our guidelines, and I asked it for links to the bills that I've referenced, that I want it to reference. But as you can see, it's going to town writing my blog post. But you can also see this looks a little different than what you're accustomed to in ChatGPT, because now over here on the left-hand side of the screen, I have my messaging window, my chat window. On the right-hand side of the screen, I have my canvas. And so this is where the work is happening. But what's different now in this canvas
Hey,
feature
John.
is it allows me to go in and directly edit it, and it allows me to do several other things. So I'm going to start with the direct editing and just show you how that works. Now, obviously, I haven't read this, and so I'm not going to be editing very sensibly, so don't hold it against me, but let's pretend that I don't want to say ensuring justice. If I want to say something else there, I can directly erase that, and I can say leading the charge for ethical AI use in the digital age. And so I can directly edit anything over here on this right-hand side that I want to. So again, we always ask you to evaluate everything carefully, which I'm not doing because you are watching me. And I don't want to bore you, but you can directly edit anything. So I've got here education leaders must recognize the implications of this law for school technology and collective responsibility to foster a safer environment. In this blog, we'll explore. I don't want to say that, so I'm going to erase that, and I'm going to just start the sentence there. We will connect it to federal, instead of saying efforts, I'll say bills that are in the works to. So again, edit anything you want to. But another thing you can do is, like, maybe if this one phrase right here I don't like, I can highlight that one phrase, and you'll see there when I do this pop-up comes up in the bottom, this Ask ChatGPT. I could also make it bold, I could make it italics, and I could change the heading style of that. None of that makes sense right now, so I won't do that right now, but I wanted to show you that. So I'm going to say rephrase this to be more professional, or I could just say more professional. I don't have to even say all of that. So I don't like paving the way. So if I ask it to rephrase it, notice what it does is it only changed those few words. And so it didn't change anything up here that I've already worked on. It didn't redo the whole thing. And so I really, really like that part of it. And notice also that when I hover over a paragraph, that I have a similar thing over here on the side. You don't see that unless you're hovering. But when I'm hovering here, I've got a plus button right here, and I can ask it to edit or explain. And so the content says HB 591 addresses critical gaps in North Carolina's legal framework, modernizing how our state handles sex crimes. And so I'm going to explain the relation, oops, to AI generated images and video. And so I've asked it to add that explanation to that piece of text. And so it should be reworking it for me. Okay, it didn't seem to work. So I'm going to say add an explanation, a connection to AI generated media. This is why I don't type in front of people. Okay, and hopefully it will work for me this time. So I'm asking it to add a connection there, and I saw my little thought bubbles, so it looks like it was working. Okay, and now it's working. Okay, so you can see now it reworks that part, and it kind of explains what does this have to do with AI, because this is a sex crime bill. And so that explains that for me. Okay, so you could do that all the way through. Notice also in my prompt, I ask it to link out to things, and notice that it does that. And so I've asked it to link out to the Take It Down Act, link out to the Defiance Act, and so it automatically adds those hyperlinks for me. And then it has a hyperlink here for the North Carolina guidelines. Okay, so I want to show you a few other things. So that's the most powerful part, is that you can evaluate it. You can edit in line. You can edit any part of it you want to. You can focus on specific parts of it. You can ask ChatGPT for help, for clarification, for rewording, for adding things. But it also has a few other neat little features here. So if you look down in the lower right-hand corner where I have my cursor there, you see that pop-up happened. The first thing is just suggest edits. And so if I want to suggest edits, I'm just going to click that and then click the arrow, and you will see that it is going through a process that looks very much like if I have a colleague, if I've shared a Google Doc with Brian or Kendra, and I've asked them to make some comments on it for me. This looks very much the same if you've worked collaboratively in a Google Doc. And so it will highlight portions of the document, and then over here in the side margin, it will give me some feedback on it. And so it says for this portion, I should consider specifying how education leaders can practically address these implications to make the statement more actionable. And I have several options with this. Okay, first of all, I could go in and directly edit this text. If I want to take that suggestion and I want to go in and make those changes myself, I can do that just like I showed you a minute ago. I can also apply that suggestion and ChatGPT will edit it for me. So I clicked apply. And as you can see, again, just that portion, it's going in and rewriting just that portion for me. And so right here, I've got that part that it rewrote. It kind of changed it and followed its own suggestion. Now, another thing I can do is say I don't like the suggestion. I can just ignore it. So I can just click X and it just goes away. And so everywhere that it does that, you have those options. Either apply it, ignore it, or go in and edit it yourself. And so that's one of these little quick edit features, and I'll show you a couple more of them. One is adjusting the length. Now this is very, very long. Nobody's probably going to read that, so maybe I want to make it a little shorter. Okay, so if I go here to this, I can notice that you can go shortest, shorter, shorter, back to the current length, longer, 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 longest. And so maybe I want to make it a couple clicks shorter. And again, when I click the arrow, you'll see it rework and it will make the document shorter. And it will just go through there and shorten it. And then I had a few more things here that I didn't. I'm going to just close those out, things I didn't get to. Okay, and so it has made my document a little bit shorter, maybe not a lot shorter, but it has made it a little bit shorter. And so if maybe I did that and I realized I didn't like it, I liked the other one better, I can go up here to the top to the previous version, and then I can restore that version or go back to the latest version. So I'm going to go back to the latest version. Another thing it does is reading level, and I really like the way that it works with a reading level. Notice that I can make it anywhere from kindergarten all the way to graduate school. And so if this is for education leaders, I might leave it at that level, but maybe I'm trying to explain this to middle schoolers or high schoolers. And so I could change it to a middle school level as well. And so again, it will rework the whole thing. It will change the reading level. And then I could go back. If I didn't like it, I could click the back arrow and revert and go back to the original one if I wanted to. And so when it's finished with that, I'll show you a couple more. Okay. And I'm actually just going to stop it. I'm going to cancel it. It also has this emoji feature, which when it first came out a few months ago, it just had emojis and you clicked it and it looked like a 12-year-old got a hold of your iPhone. It had emojis everywhere. Just every word was an emoji. And so since then, they've added some options here. You can do words still and make it look like your 12-year-old typed it, or you can do emoji per section, emoji per list, or remove it altogether. And so I'm going to just do sections. Maybe if this is a social media post, I might want a few emojis in there. And so I'll click the sections, and I'll be perfectly honest, I haven't been real impressed with the emojis. Like it's, like these random stars don't have a lot to do with this topic. It does a lot better job in some cases, doing a little better job now than it did the last time I did it. But you can include emojis if you want to. And again, if you decide the emojis look silly and you don't want them, you can wait until it finishes and go up and hit that back arrow, and it will revert back and take them out. And then one more thing you can do on this version is a final polish. And I actually really like the final polish. When it first came out a couple months ago, I did not, because it took a lot of liberties with my writing. If I had already made a lot of efforts to go in and put my own voice in it and change things, it just completely changed it. But now it does more like it just does a grammar check. It fixes your heading styles, just kind of, it really is more of a final polish. And so I'm going to click the final polish and run through that real quickly. and then we will be ready to let you guys try it out a little bit. And so you can see I've got my emojis in there. It does the heading styles nicely. Um, and these emojis this time are a little more in line with what I'm typing. I did one earlier and they just seemed silly and ridiculous, but it's doing a pretty good job. Okay. Okay, so I do want to show you another thing in just a minute when this finishes, because this is one, if you don't know it, it's going to really be a huge time saver. Okay, so now it's finished. So I've gone through all of those there, and we've gone through the back arrow. But another thing it does is it shows changes. And another thing that I forgot to do while it was doing that, if you look over here in the left-hand margin, it was telling me all the while what it's doing. Okay, so it told me that in the editing, it added a final polish, it ensured a smooth flow, consistency, and correctness, incorporated sections and titles, and subtle emergencies. And so in the left-hand margin, all those things I've done, it tells me what it's doing while it's doing it. And so the text has been updated. It gave me that feedback the whole time if I were watching that and pointing it out. But I do want to show you this, the show changes feature, because this also will remind you of a Google Doc. If you've ever looked at a Google Doc and had to go back into the version history, this will remind you of that. So what it's done is it shows me, but with red mark through anything it took out, green mark through everything that was added. And so this gives you a good overview of what was changed in a document, if you want to look at it that way. And that's pretty much it in this window that there is. But I feel like it's very, very powerful, a very important feature. And so I am going to show you one more thing, and I'm going to copy this text out, and I want to show you a trick that will save you endless hours of editing your final output, because I'll show you how to save the formatting. And so first thing is always use the copy button, not drag over it and Control C, Control V. And so I'm going to use the actual copy button right there. And then I am going to open a Google Doc over here, and I will show you something that I learned a month or so ago that's been a huge time saver. I'll say, first of all, I've already done this, but you have to go into your Google Docs, and you have to go up here to your tools and then go down to preferences. And there is a slide in the slide deck that shows this as well. But you have to do something to turn on enabling Markdown. So this will be unchecked by default. And if you enable it, it will make a huge difference when you copy and paste from a large language model, because they all write in Markdown, not just ChatGPT. All of them do. And so that's why when you paste from a ChatGPT into a Google Doc, you'll get the hashtags, asterisks, all that weird stuff, and then you have to go in and edit it all because you haven't enabled Markdown. And then once you have enabled Markdown, when you go to edit, you will see a new option there that says paste from Markdown. And so when I select paste from Markdown, it's going to paste that text that I had, and it's going to keep all of that formatting that I had. So it keeps the headings, it keeps the emojis. It doesn't say globe, hammer, like it does if you just copy and paste without enabling Markdown. And so that's a huge time saver. It's saved me so much time over the last month or so. And so I wanted to make sure and show you that. But I do want to just allow a couple of minutes for people to try these things out independently, and at the same time, ask questions. If you want to ask questions, I'm just going to put on like a 3-minute timer, because I want you to be able to get in there and dig around if you haven't already. And then we'll take questions as well. And so if anybody has a question, feel free just to go ahead and unmute or put it in the chat, whatever you're comfortable with. But go ahead and open up ChatGPT and give it a go. Put a prompt in there and ask it to open Canvas, or click that little toolbox and click the Canvas icon. And then practice editing the text directly. Practice highlighting over it and ask ChatGPT. Practice asking for comments or suggestions. And I'm going to open my chat, but I don't see anything in it. Will mess up anything with the flow. I haven't seen that it does, Brian. Somebody asked me in one of the meetings, does it work in Gmail? And I'm not actually sure about that. We don't get to use Gmail, unfortunately. And so I barely use it. I use it personally, but I don't do a lot of emailing personally. And so somebody told me that they thought it does. And I'm sure there's probably something in Gmail, but I can't speak to right now Microsoft Word either. I'm sure Word has something like that too. I just don't use it a lot. But I'm sure if you're a Microsoft Word user, there's something similar there that allows you to enable Markdown as well. But what you'll see in my Google Doc that I did is it preserves, because it does the headings, it sets up the document tabs perfectly over here. So you've got your, you know, you can click through those and it sets the heading styles perfectly so that I've got them set to, which is of course an accessibility thing also. We're supposed to be using heading styles appropriately for accessibility, but it also just for organization and then to be able to use that uh, table of contents kind of interactive on the side. It helps with that as well. But mostly it's just a huge time saver because you don't have to go in there and set all your heading styles and add the emojis back and delete all of the markdown text that it included. About 30 more seconds of playing around. If anybody has a question, please feel free just to unmute. It's a small group. I'll be happy to answer if you have any questions. Okay, who owns this output? What I did with ChatGPT? Well, if I were really going to do a blog post, I would make a tremendous amount of changes to it. I would actually evaluate it very carefully, read it very carefully, and I find that I change it a lot. But technically, it should still be something that you disclose the use of using ChatGPT. I would still add a disclosure statement, something like I use ChatGPT to help brainstorm and format or organize my writing at whatever level or whatever extent I used it, because you still are getting, help from it. Okay. Any ahas, any um, aha moments, anything from when you were playing around with it that anybody wants to share before we go on to the next thing? Okay, I'm going to move on then. My wait time's probably not great. Brian, you have something else? We're going to let Mr. Rick in.
I was just going to say, I think for a lot of students who struggle with maybe getting started with a writing prompt, or those, maybe EC identified or have some type of difficulty, I could see this as a great way to get them started and then let them focus on the editing and some of the other things so they're not overwhelmed. So
Hmm.
I love this feature. I mean, you could do it with regular, but I like the fact they can go in and edit in the chat
Hmm.
itself
Yeah.
and then post over.
Yeah, and I doubt we have very many students who are technically allowed to use ChatGPT in schools, but I think that will change in the future. ChatGPT already has an education platform for college, and I think that will eventually happen for high school as well, kind of like Gemini does. But yeah, when it gets to the point where we're actually allowing our students to use it, these features are going to be the way to teach them how to use it responsibly, how to use it as a collaborative partner and enhancing their own thinking, not just replacing it. So I think they're hugely important for that reason. I do want to demonstrate something else in Canvas before I go on to the next thing though, and I'm going to start a brand new chat window. So when I close out Canvas, I just hit that X and I'm going to start a brand new chat. But in line with what Brian said, I'm going to pull in a essay I'm going to pretend that I wrote, but actually I didn't. I asked ChatGPT to help me write an example essay to use, but pretending I'm a student. If I were a student and I had written my own writing and I wanted to get some feedback on it, that's something that you can do also. So I'm going to copy my own writing and pretend I'm a student. And if I go into ChatGPT and I can say, add suggestions um, to my essay from the perspective of my history teacher. This is a history essay about how my life would be different if the Axis powers had won World War II. And so I'm going to paste my essay in there. And so I'm going to also add a delimiter though. And so a delimiter kind of lets ChatGPT know what's what, kind of helps it find things. And so I'm going to say, so my essay in, and I'm going to tell it my essay is in triple quotes. And I'm going to ask it to do that. So I've got a triple quote at the beginning. I've pasted my whole essay in here, and I'm going to use another triple quote. And again, a delimiter is just kind of a way to help ChatGPT organize the information and make sure that it knows what you're referring to. And then again, I'm going to go into Canvas. I'm going to do ChatGPT. I'm going to open the Canvas, and then I am going to run it. Okay, and when I did that, the first word on it will be Canvas. So this is how you always know if you're in Canvas or not. And so you'll see that blue canvas there. And so I will go ahead and run it. And I don't even know what that does because that's new. I guess that opened it too. So that pencil now is new. It was a double arrow last time I looked at it. That opened Canvas also. There's multiple ways to open Canvas. The one I showed you, the toolbox, that pencil now does it, but you can also just say or type open Canvas and it will open Canvas. And so there's several different ways of doing it. Okay, so I have my essay here. And over here on the left, which is what I forgot to show you, it has a little icon there showing that I typed something in, but it didn't add the suggestions. And so I'm going to ask it now to add the suggestions. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going over here to my message ChatGPT box. Let me try that again. Sorry. Okay, so now it's going to ask me to paste it again. So I'm going to paste it. I had it copied and I uncopied it. So now I'm going to paste my essay in. So it's saying, yeah, sure, I'll do that for you, but you got to paste your essay in. And so I'm pasting my essay in. Okay. And opening Canvas. I'm confusing it. I'm giving it too many commands at once. So I'm going to have to leave it alone for a second and let it finish my essay. And then when it finishes, this is my text. So it's just kind of recreating my text in there, but it gave me a little summary at the end. And so, whoops, sorry, cancel that. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is open it in Canvas just by typing that, and you'll see what it does when it opens in Canvas. It kind of spreads it out. Okay. And I'm going to put add comments from the perspective of my history teacher. And then I'm going to, as soon as it finishes, I'll run it. And then when you ask it to add comments from the perspective of someone else, it will go into that commenting mode that I showed you a minute ago. When I click the pencil and ask for suggestions, it will redo it in that way. Oh, it failed to comment. That's what happens when you're presenting live. That's what happens. So let me just put it in again, and then I will do it. So I'm going to open Canvas. Okay. And I will send it. We'll try this again. Sorry. Normally that's what I would do is just put in my essay, open Canvas.
Hey,
I was trying to combine steps there and it didn't work too well for me.
how was your day?
Okay, so now it has just my essay, just what I had written. And I could do this over here and just click this suggest edits like I showed you earlier, and it would just suggest edits randomly. But if I say add comments or suggestions, I've used both words and it's worked either way. From the perspective of my history teacher, it makes it a little better. Okay, so now I'm going to add that. And I'm trying to see who's not muted, but I'm hearing a lot of extra noise. I think I've got it shut down. Okay, so now it's going through this process of adding the comments, but it's going to be specific to what a history teacher would be looking for. So I could have said my English teacher. If I were creating something for the school board and was going to present from the school board, I could say add comments from the perspective of school board. Or maybe I'm writing a letter to an angry parent, and I could say, add comments from the perspective of an angry parent, things like that. And then just like I showed you earlier, then I have the option of accepting, applying, rejecting those. So I'm not going to go through that again, but when you ask for comments from the perspective of someone else, you have those same options. And I think that's pretty much it for the Canvas feature. And so I'm going to go ahead and close that out. Is there any questions on that before we go on to the search upgrades? Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I don't know if you have seen this or not, but one of the things they did right before Christmas was they rolled out search in ChatGPT for everybody. And again, it's something that if you've had a Plus account, you had access to for a little while, but no longer are you restricted to a database cutoff when you're using ChatGPT. If you've used it for long, you've probably came across some time whenever it was giving you old data because whatever you were asking about was current and it was after the cutoff, which last was like October of 2022. And so if you know that you want to search for something current and new, you can click search and activate it when you start your prompt. And then you can say, like, I'll talk about that Bill 591. It passed recently. So I'm going to say, when was House Bill 591 enacted in North Carolina, and provide a very brief summary of the bill. Okay, and so again, if I had done that previously, it would have told me that that is before its cutoff or after its cutoff date, and it wouldn't have been able to do that for me. Where did my prompt go? ChatGPT's doing me wrong. Y'all saw me type that. I don't know what. Okay, so when was House Bill, I'll type it again, enacted in North Carolina? And I know when it was. I know that it was just a couple weeks ago. My chat keeps disappearing. I apologize. That's what happens whenever you try to demonstrate something. Let me try a different prompt. What is happening in Brevard, North Carolina this weekend? I'll tell you what's happening. Everybody's going to be snowed in. But ChatGPT may give me some ideas. Are there any live music shows? Okay. Okay, chat. I'm sorry, it keeps erasing my prompts and I don't know why. I'm going to give a second and see if maybe I'm just trying to brush it too much. And the voice mode just appeared. That's new.
You may be getting a literal live update as we go, Vera.
I may be. Let me try the voice mode and see if it's going to work for me. It usually doesn't work in this way. Hey, chat. Start a new chat. I think it is doing a live update because it's not working right. Okay. Hey, chat. And we're getting a live demo of ChatGPT not working. So I'm going to look at California fire zones and see if it will work. That time it took my prompt. Wasn't what I wanted to know, but there's a fire going on right now in California, and so it does have that current information about it. Now I'm going to try just a brand new chat and see if maybe it's going to work for me. What is there to do in Brevard, North Carolina this weekend? Okay, now it's working. I guess they were rolling out something new on the spot. Okay, so it's going to give me some information here. Okay. Okay, so what are some good restaurants? Pretend I want to go to the Transylvania Heritage Museum. So I'm going to ask what are good restaurants near the Heritage Museum to demonstrate one of the other features that it has. It is integrated now with both Google Maps and with Apple Maps. And so it will give you a live map preview in the right in the chat window, which normally actually you can see it, you can zoom in and out. Um, and that isn't, okay, there we go. Okay, so I've got the square root. That's one of my favorite restaurants. And so maybe if I want to go to that, it will open up outside of that. But this map should be working too. It's not working well right now. But this should be just like if you were looking at Google Maps or Apple Maps. Oh, there it is. I'm just I'm off in Africa. That's typical for me to be way in the wrong place. But there we go. So now I've got the map there. Notice I'm zooming in and out right in my window right there. And so this is different. If you've used ChatGPT before, this live integration with the search feature is very new and very different. And another thing I can do, so like I want to say, I know Mufasa is playing at the theater, so maybe I want to see the preview of Mufasa or see the trailer for Mufasa. Um, and it will also pull that up and play it right in the window for you. So it'll show me the trailers, and then you can actually play it right in the window. So you can get a preview of the movie. If you ask for restaurant suggestions, it will give you like live links to their web pages. So show me the best restaurants in Brevard. And so all of these live search features are really just kind of up the game for how you can use ChatGPT. And And then you have the sources now. It will open up the sources over on the right-hand side, and you've got your citations. And so all of that is very new and different, and apparently changing as we speak, because they seem to be adding the voice mode to this, and that happened the last few minutes while I was talking to you. And so the next thing that I wanted to show you was projects. And projects is something that you probably do not have access to yet, but it's something they have promised for free users in the very near future. And as you can see over here on my left-hand side, I have this project. Does anybody have it yet? It hasn't, I don't think I've seen that it rolled out for free users. But it basically is like a folder system for your chats, which if yours is like mine, it's just a mess because I've got 2 years of chats here and it was very hard to find them. So now you can start a folder and you can hold all of your chats within that folder. So here's one I did for my last webinar. And so I created a folder by clicking this plus project. And then I added some instructions and the project files, and you can see all of the chats that I did are in there. So you can go back and revisit any one of your prompts, any one of your chats there, rather than having to go hunt for it in this list. You can also, on your folders, you can give them, like if I open up this one, I can go up here and you can have them a color coding, which is not hugely important, but it does help on the left-hand side. And then if I have chats that I want to add to my folders, I can just drag and drop them and put them in the folder. And so that's part of it is an organization system, but it's actually more than that. It is more than an organization system because kind of like in your custom instructions, you can give ChatGPT instructions on how you want it to behave every time you interact with it. You can give custom instructions per folder as well. And so this is a folder that is just to create blog posts. I've decided I'm starting a blog, and I put my first post out today and on Substack, but I want to give it some directions to make sure that it represents what I want it to do. And so I've told it, my name, what I do, some achievements that I have that make me somebody that people would listen to. And then I give it a role like you would in a prompt. You're a blogger with 20 plus years, AI and education niche. And I've told it that I want it to use this post method for creating blogs every time. And so because I put that in the custom instructions, every prompt that I use within this, I start a new prompt up here, it's automatically going to apply those custom instructions to it. And so think about from an educator standpoint, if you're using it for lesson planning, you can have one folder for lesson planning. Maybe you have one folder that you are doing some writing on, doing some research, whatever. You can have different folders and you can give them different instructions based on the purpose of that folder. And you don't have to say all of that stuff again for every time you make a post. And you can also add project files to it. And so you can add files like I added the AI guidelines, so it always references those. And then I also just wrote out some directions that I want it to follow. And so I've added those files, and it's going to reference these two things every single time. And so then when I just go in and say, write a blog, one blog I'll do next week for the first anniversary of the NCAI guidelines, and I would give it a little more directions, but when I create a blog, it's going to automatically reference those documents that I've uploaded. And so it starts creating the blog, then I would open it in Canvas, and I would go in and I would really evaluate it very, very carefully, and I would edit it a lot, make sure that it reflects my own thinking and my own ideas. But that can be a really helpful feature, and you will probably see that roll out in the next few weeks. They said it would be soon in the new year. ChatGPT has been pretty good about their rollout timelines, and so I expect you'll see that before long. One other thing that I wanted to show you that was a free rollout before we roll out of time. I'm just going to flip through some of these because I've just kind of demonstrated live instead of going through the slides. But we looked at different ways of launching Canvas. You can say collaborate with me on open Canvas. You can paste a bunch of text in, and a lot of times it will just automatically open because it recognizes that's what you want to do. You can click the toolbox, you can click the little pencil. All of those will open Canvas. So there's lots of ways to open it, but remember you'll have that blue word Canvas at the beginning of your prompt if it's going to open in Canvas. We've talked about directly editing the output. I showed you all of the quick edit features. We talked about adjusting the length, adjusting the reading level. I showed you the changes and the version control, going back to other versions. We talked about using it as an evaluator and getting comments on your writing. I showed you how to preserve your formatting. And this I didn't talk about because coding is not something that everybody does, but just so you know, this Canvas feature also is a great coding partner. If you do any coding, it will debug your code, it will make suggestions on your code, help you comment it. And so there's one slide here about coding. It doesn't apply to most people, but I just wanted you to know about it. This is about the search feature, which we've talked about already. I didn't show you this, but something you might want to do is you can also, if you go into ChatGPT, you can actually add a search engine. You can make ChatGPT your primary search engine. So instead of going to Google every time you type a query in Google, it will automatically open ChatGPT. And if you want to do that, you just go in here and click that, and it will do that. I have found that I still need Google sometimes, though. And I also, if you do that every time you do a search on Google, it's going to add a chat to your history, which to me is a little bit overwhelming. And so I don't know that you'll want to do that. But if you do, and then you decide afterwards you don't like it, this shows you how to get rid of it. You can go up here into your, it keeps popping that up. You can go into your extensions, and then you can just deselect it or remove it if you decide that you don't want that anymore. And so I didn't show you that. I wanted to show you that real quickly. But this is something I'm going to just demonstrate live. They're trying to be mindful of places in the world and people who may not have data or who may not have internet. And so they have it now where you can call ChatGPT. And I'm going to do that for you live. And we will show you what that does. You have 15 minutes a month to talk to ChatGPT. And I'm going to open up my contacts. You can see that I've added ChatGPT as a contact. And if you just dial 1-800 ChatGPT, it will also do it. But I have added it as a contact. And so you can see I have ChatGPT. Can you guys see my phone, Brian?
It's kind of blinking out, but turn it at an angle to your screen, and I could see that it was a contact.
Okay, so I've got ChatGPT. It's 1-800 ChatGPT, 1-800-242-8478. And I'm going to call it and put it on speaker and just as a quick demo.
Hello again. It's ChatGPT, an AI assistant. Our conversation may be reviewed for safety. How can I help you?
Okay, I was just wondering what kind of things are there to do in Brevard, North Carolina this weekend, and are we getting any snow?
Brevard's lovely. Oh, and about the snow, it looks like there's a chance for some flurries this weekend. Perfect for a cozy mountain retreat.
Okay, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing that because you can ask anything on it that you could ask to the live chat GPT, including the search feature. So you can ask it, what are some restaurants close by? What are the hours? But again, it is limited to 15 minutes per month. And you can also use Chat GPT on WhatsApp now. And I have not tried it on WhatsApp. I'm not really a big WhatsApp user, but that's another way that they're trying to make sure that people who don't have access to data or internet can have access to this powerful technology, the Chat GPT. Okay, and we've looked at projects. I've shown you about adding files and instructions. I do have a couple of things on the slide deck that when you get projects, when it does roll out, you might want to come back and reference. First of all, this slide talks about the kinds of files you can add. And so you can add text files, document files, spreadsheets, code files, image files. And also, this is a little a document here to kind of help you plan out your projects and give it appropriate directions. And this is one that you can just make a forced copy of. And so if you click this image and open it in a new tab, it's just going to ask you to make a copy of it. So it's just a Google Doc with a copy. But that just kind of helps you to think through what kind of information you need to give it to make sure that it does an adequate job and you get the best possible outcome from your projects. And so another thing is on the custom instructions. I showed you that where I typed the custom instructions. This is just a reminder about some things that you might want to include in your custom instructions and a little screenshot of that. And then it's time for a Q&A, and we will move right into the evaluation in just a minute. But I did want to give a minute if anybody has any questions, comments, thoughts, anything that they want to interject.
I think it's crazy you can call Chat GPT and get a response via your phone. That's just blows my mind.
Well, they did it. If you watch the live, when they rolled it out live, they had a rotary phone. And they did the old dial the rotary phone too, just to show that it would do that on the rotary phone. They had a flip phone, a rotary phone, and then like an iPhone, and they did it on all three. Just it is crazy. Any other questions or comments? I'm terrible at wait time, but I don't want to just leave you staring at me sitting here awkwardly either. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move it along then. Feel free to interrupt me if a question comes to mind, but I'm actually going to finish on time for probably the first time ever. And so I want to make sure I give you time to do the evaluation. Remember that the evaluation, if you complete that, it will automatically send you a CEU certificate, and you just kind of collect all those together and you can turn them in your district. And it has recommended 1 hour of CEU credit for every webinar that you attend. And so, and then we really appreciate the feedback. So if you don't mind to take a moment and fill out that survey, there's a short link on the screen. And if you have the slide deck open, you can just click it and it will open from the image there. I hope you learned something new. Please go show somebody else, especially that Canvas feature. A lot of people, it's just not real obvious and a lot of people don't know about it. But it really, really increases the usefulness of ChatGPT as a collaboration partner. and a tool, in my opinion. Thank you, Brian. Putting it in the chat is always a nice idea. The slide deck again, yes, I will do that. I'm going to go back to my pinned chat and copy it. Okay. Yeah, and again, that last slide, if you came in after I said that, the slide after this, I will show you that real quickly. This, well, the very last one. If you click this link in that, the presentation template, it will let you make your own copy of that slide deck. And so maybe some parts of it are not so useful. You want to edit it to appeal to a different audience. You can make your own copy of that in Canva. And then in Canva, if you don't use Canva, you can download it as a PowerPoint or a PDF or some other format that might be more useful to you. And so please feel free to use this for your own purposes. We just have asked that you follow the Creative Commons licensing that's here. I always give attribution. You can't make money on it. And if you do remix it, to share it with the same CC licensing or more open. That's our only request. Okay, well, thank you so much. I hope that you all got some new information, some new ways to use ChatGPT, and I hope that everybody stays safe in the snowstorm that we're about to get hit with tomorrow. At least here in the mountains we are.